that break zipped on by. Yeah, we're back at it. Welcome back in. We are back. We are back. As I try to do the thing from that movie over there. But you have found the Outlap F1 podcast. This will be season 7, episode 28. It's our 2025. We're going Dutch this weekend. Dutch GP preview show. You've got Andy, and Cody is also back with us. Returned from his trip up north. One, I hope you caught lots of fish, or at least had the opportunity to catch lots of fish. And two, how you been? Because it's been a hot minute since we've talked.
I've been busy. The trip was really nice. I did have a lot of opportunities to catch fish. Unfortunately, I did not catch a lot of fish. But it was a great time. It was very relaxing. It has definitely zipped by. I've been very busy, Beaver, and I almost haven't even really noticed that I didn't have Formula One in my life up until about a week ago. And then I was sitting there with a free weekend for the most part on Sunday and being like, could really use some speedy cars right about now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been supplementing it. You know, IndyCar's been okay. Congrats to Alex Palou, who, of course, won the championship, and we kind of knew that was coming a long time ago. But Pato at least made it a little interesting for me. Won a couple races, so that was fun to watch. MotoGP has been rocking it. Marc Marquez is just absolutely going to trounce this championship this season. He's just the best that's out there, and he's the most consistent. And but I mean, at least they were back and up from summer break as well. So, I mean, there's been fast stuff in my life. It just hasn't been Formula One, but that is all about to change because the Dutch GP is upon us in the end of the break, and it gets on us thick and fast. I mean, we're going to have this weekend. We got a back-to-back. We go from one of the slower tracks on the calendar to Monza, which is all straight line speed. And we go from Monza to Azerbaijan, which is also straight line speed. And that thing can be crazy. So yeah, we're going to have a whole lot of stuff. We're going to have a lot of good stuff to talk about as we bring this championship home. So if you have found our show, welcome along as always. You can find us. We do post stuff on Blue Sky. We post stuff on X. We post stuff on some Instagram, Discord, occasionally on Reddit, but also here on YouTube at Outlap F1 Podcast is the handle for all of that. If you do enjoy what you are looking at and or what you are listening to, do us a solid. Click either the like or the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. If you're on your favorite podcasting app, if you want to leave us a 5-star review, that will also help us out tremendously to come up a little bit better in F1-related search results if you're looking for content like this. You can email the show, outlapf1@gmail.com. We'll get your message and your thoughts to us. Thank you so much to the folks who continue to support this show, including Dean Warwick, Yuri Dolchester, Paul Weaver, Quentin Warden, Kevin Kelly, Regan Stanzik, Timothy Brown, and, of course, Jonathan Scott. If you'd like to become a member of what we call the hashtag Outlap F1 Nation, get your name shouted out at the beginning of each episode. You want to leave us a small little monetary donation, $1, $5, totally up to you. You are not bound to do that at all. We're not necessarily asking for it, but we do put it in there. What does that help us do? It helps us keep the show up to date technology-wise. That lets us keep our recording platform and all that other good stuff. So if you want to do that, we would be obviously most grateful if you would. All right. Well, I thought we were going to have a little bit more news than what actually broke. Apparently, all the teams got the memo and actually left. We do not have a George Russell announcement, which is the thing. Of course, you watch, in true Outlap F1 podcast fashion, it'll happen either as I'm posting this preview or right after we're done recapping the weekend. But what we did get, F1 suddenly came back, and Cadillac F1, remember them, the new team that will join the grid next year in 2026. They have announced their drivers, and they are a lot of who we kind of thought it was going to be. It's Sergio Checo Perez returning to the grid, along with Valtteri Bottas as Cadillac goes veteran. So that was the big announcement from them. I loved how they actually dropped it. The video is actually pretty cool. Kind of gets you hyped up for Cadillac and, remembering that, hey, that's another American team and let's go. But good quotes from both drivers, from Valtteri Bottas. Quote, "From the moment I began speaking with Cadillac Formula One team, I felt something different, something ambitious, but also grounded. This isn't just a racing project. It's a long-term vision. It's not every day you get a chance to be part of something built from the ground up and help shape it into something that truly belongs on the F1 grid." In terms of Checo, his quote was, "Joining the Cadillac Formula One team is an incredibly exciting new chapter in my career. From our first conversations, I could sense the passion and determination behind the project. It's an honor to be part of building a team that can develop together so that in time, we will fight at the very front." All right, Cody, two guys who probably have a bit of something to prove or want to, go out and say this wasn't how we wanted to go out for sure. But thoughts? Surprised they went veteran and no young driver, or does this make sense to you?
It definitely makes sense to me. You got two drivers who have spent a very long time in the sport, certainly veteran drivers. Both of them have driven for championship caliber teams, championship winning teams, as well as midfield teams or back markers. They've both pretty much seen it all. And I think that makes them very valuable to Cadillac, who are starting this from the ground up. They definitely need talented, knowledgeable drivers who can tell them what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, help them to develop their new car. So I think it's, from the standpoint of trying to get the team up and going in as reasonable amount of time as possible, I think this is definitely the right thing to do. And like you said, they've both got something to prove. They both played second fiddle to, a couple of the best drivers the sport's ever seen. But that isn't to say that they're not skilled themselves. I think it's actually going to be really interesting to see them stacked up against each other. And I think there's going to be a pretty healthy amount of competition that goes on there. So I think Cadillac really made a great decision. It's not surprising in the slightest. We kind of talked about how we thought either one of these guys could be a prime candidate for getting into Cadillac. Right after the break started, it started to get rumored very heavily that they would both end up there. And then, just recently, it finally became official after it had been all but confirmed for a couple of weeks.
One of the really worst kept secrets was, there were already people that already kind of put out the reaction to it. It's like, well, can we at least let the team announce it and then we actually figure out what's going on? But yeah, I think this does make total sense. As a new team coming in, a fresh new entry with a new power unit and all that other stuff, and big reg changes and all that, you need to have somebody who knows what they're doing at the helm of the car. It is a huge ask of a young driver, especially somebody maybe coming up from F2, to go to F2 to a brand new team that's learning its terminology literally on the fly. That's a huge ask for any driver, and you're not setting up anybody coming up the ladder for success. So I think this makes sense. If they want to go young in 2 or 3 years, because these are both apparently multi-year deals, I don't know that they're exactly the same length. Terms obviously not totally disclosed here, but if there is some staggering amongst it, you could still have veteran driver with young driver coming up, if that is the direction they eventually want to go. Not surprised they didn't go the IndyCar route with Colton Herta, even though this is Andretti's guts, and Colton Herta is still obviously out there, but that didn't surprise me again. You want to be, if you want to get what their goal, I think, needs to be is get to respectability. Get to respectability, be accepted on the grid fully, and not looked at as that other team. And these are two guys that like you said, been there, done it, seen it, been around the block, know everything about it. It's kind of interesting in that Valtteri Bottas will finally get to serve his 5-place grid drop in the first race that he will be in because of the penalty he got from, I think he was with Alfa Romeo. So he still got a couple penalty points on his license that have to get cleared out. But that's one of those kind of oddball things. But yeah, I mean, for a driver announcement, this made a lot of sense. And so now we know that's 2 more drivers that are kind of off the market gets that much smaller a little bit. It clearly tells me George Russell's not going anywhere, even though that hasn't been announced yet, because he's got really nowhere else to go. So we're going to at least dive into 26. So we pretty much got to know where everybody's basically going to be. There still may be some movement. Obviously, if that happens, we'll bring it to you. All right. So the other bit of news dropped earlier today. McLaren is actually finally, at long last, got themselves a title sponsor. This is kind of an evolution of the deal that they signed with MasterCard. I'm not exactly surprised at this when I saw it, but they will be the MasterCard McLaren Formula One team, starting with their official entry in 2026. All 10 teams now have their own set of title sponsors, so it will be brand name or sponsor blah, 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 F1 team name, insert there. Makes sense from a McLaren perspective. They've already had some pretty big MasterCard branding. I think all the way, the big thing on the back of the race suits, you can see it, and it's all over the front wing. So no big change to the livery. If anybody was nervous about the McLaren livery changing from what it was, I wouldn't count on it, particularly if they continue to do well, because it's a superstition thing at this point. They might as well just go with it when it's working. So, Cody, any big reaction here?
Not surprised at all. MasterCard is a big, reputable company, and with how well McLaren is doing, I'm sure they were very happy to jump on and be like, "Hey, can we actually be in the name of your team?" Since you are about to win both championships. So not surprised at all. I think it's very good for McLaren. Nice little cash injection for them, I'm sure. And yeah, they can't change the car now, at least not drastically. We've been calling them the papaya team for a long time now, and they're finally about to win as the papaya team. So, why change it now?
Yeah, so like I said, I mean, I think we'll see some bigger maybe MasterCard branding on either the side pods or maybe the rear wing or something like that. Certainly would expect to see that when they announce, all their designs and stuff and deliveries for next year. But I think the core of the team's still going to basically run the same way. And, it's a good thing to get some extra cash for them, and they need to. It's good that they're pouncing when their stock is hot, and this is the hottest that it's been in 10, 12 years. So good for them. So yeah, now they were the only one without a title sponsor. Now they've all got it. So that just proves just in the 10, 12 years, how far the sport as a whole has gone, that everybody now has a title sponsor, when before it was really only the really have it teams. You used to would say, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari were, Ferrari doesn't need a title sponsor, but they have one. We're really the only ones that were really kind of profitable teams. Now we've seen with the cost cap, it's now kind of spread out, and that, other teams are able to have success too. So a good story there. But that's really it. There really wasn't anything else that really happened in the F1 world.
Quite quiet.
Yeah, it's surprisingly quiet. But all right, so we're just going to go straight in. We're going to drop our green flag. We are headed to Zandvoort and the Dutch GP circuit. So Cody, tell us about that Dutch GP track located on the coast.
All right. As you said, this weekend, Formula One returns from the summer break and goes to the Netherlands for the Dutch Grand Prix. The circuit they're racing around is the Circuit Zandvoort, which is a nice coastal vacation town in the Netherlands, technically North Holland in the Netherlands. Number of laps around the circuit is going to be 72 for the Grand Prix, and the length of the circuit is 2.65 miles, that's 4.259 kilometers. Tire selection from Pirelli for this one is going to be the C2, C3, and C4 tire compound, so we're kind of right in the middle of the range. And the track characteristics from Pirelli are a 3 out of 5 for traction, 3 out of 5 for braking, 4 out of 5 for lateral load, 5 out of 5 for tire stress, 4 out of 5 for track evolution, 3 out of 5 for asphalt grip, 3 out of 5 for asphalt abrasion, and a 4 out of 5 for downforce. The qualifying lap record under the current configuration of the circuit goes to Max Verstappen. He set that in 2021 with a 1 minute 8.885 seconds. And the race lap record under the current configuration goes to Lewis Hamilton, set in that same year, 2021, and that was with a 1 minute 11.097 seconds. Most wins at the Dutch Grand Prix in any form that it has taken over the years is going to go to Jim Clark with 4 wins in the Netherlands, followed by a 3-way tie between Jackie Stewart, Niki Lauda, and Max Verstappen with 3 wins apiece. And then many drivers have gotten 1 win in the Netherlands, but most recently, Lando Norris joins those ranks. Most constructor wins is going to go to Ferrari with 9, followed by the original Lotus with 6, then McLaren with 4, and 4th place is Red Bull with 3. I'm sure either one of those teams would be happy to add to their tally this weekend. What's the circuit like, Andy?
All right, it is really quick, pretty insane, crazy, and old school. Those were the words used by the current crop of F1 drivers when asked to describe the Zandvoort track that many of them tackled in their junior category days. We'd also add undulating to that list. The Zandvoort track swoops and flows through the sand dunes, creating a roller coaster-like feel to the lap. And while the circuit was modernized in time for F1's most recent return, including increasing the banking angle at the famous Tarzan corner to an Indianapolis Motor Speedway trumping 18 degrees, Zandvoort remains a proper, challenging driver's track. As for the weather, which always now apparently is part of the deal when we go to this track, and you can't predict it. So this is what they think is going to happen. So for Saturday for qualifying, it's supposed to be partly cloudy, a high around 68. Winds out of the southwest, pretty gusty here, 10 to 20. So that could definitely affect things for sure. A 24% chance of rain. And for the Sunday forecast, showers in the morning, then cloudy in the afternoon. Could there be a pop-up shower that happens either Saturday or Sunday? Of course there is. It's on the sea. And it's definitely muggy enough to spur that. But winds will be out of the high about 69, winds out of the southwest at 10 to 20. A 50%, that's really helpful, 50% chance of rain. Yeah, so if there is a shower, when does it hit? How intense does it hit? We have seen races turn on their heads when, like, one part of the circuit's dry and the other part of the circuit is absolutely chucking it down with rain. Go back to 2023. That was a crazy rain-filled race where conditions changed from wet to dry. Well, they started dry, then they went to wet, then they went back to dry, and then by the time we got back to dry tires, then another huge storm came over, red flagged everything. So it could totally be a wet and wild weekend. Anything is definitely possible here. All right, so we're going to take just a quick break. We'll re-rack real quick. We'll come back. We'll tell you what we think is going to happen over the course of this Zandvoort weekend, and then we'll tell you when and where you can watch your F1 this weekend if you are in the United States. So come on back. You won't want to miss it. All right, welcome back on in, everybody. This is Season 7, Episode number 28 of the Outlap F1 Podcast. It's our 2025 Dutch GP preview show. You've got Andy and I'm along with Cody tonight, and we just kind of set up the Dutch GP, talked about the very, very probably unpredictable weather. I would expect that to be totally the case, where random clouds can open up and maybe change the whole face of what's going on. But we're going to try to jump into our predictions and try to give you what we think is actually going to happen over the course of this weekend. And we shall start, as we are always apt to do, with the pole sitter. And the 2024 pole sitter was Lando Norris. Does he repeat? Does he get a challenge from Oscar? And where is Max? Cody, what's your thought here?
I actually think that Lando Norris is going to show very well here. He pretty much ran away with this race last year. He looked very dominant here last year. I think he probably is going to continue to do well at this track, and I think this is probably as good a place as any for him to really give Oscar a good, fair run for his money. They're very close on performance at this point in the year, but I think Lando Norris is going to have the edge. I think he's going to do this without any luck, and yeah, I think he has a very good shot for pole.
Yeah, I would expect this qualifying to be extremely tight, especially amongst the top 2 or 3, just because there's not a lot of margin in this track. So it's going to be corner perfect. And Lando is one who can get himself dialed in here, and he's shown that he's been able to do that before. This has been a tough track, actually, I think, for Oscar in his career. I think his best career finish is 5th. So which, it's not bad. It's certainly respectable, but probably a little bit more to come to see. Will Oscar bring it for qualifying? I'm absolutely sure he's going to, but I just don't know that it's going to quite be enough. So I'm going to give this one to Lando Norris as well for the pole on Saturday. All right, and that lap time, the 2024 lap time was a 109.673. We are insanely close. And in fact, we were joking about it in the break that we almost put our same lap times in together and we almost said the same thing. So I've gone slightly faster, I think, than you are. I've got a 109.047. Cody, what you got for a lap time?
Yeah, it definitely cracked me up that we were very much on the same page for where we thought this lap time was going to go. We're both assuming with our lap time that it's going to stay dry for qualifying because we're both going faster than last year's time. But yeah, I am just a tiny bit slower than you. I'm going with a 1 minute 9.117 seconds.
All right, very good. Yeah, it's going to be very, very close. I am sure it is going to come down to those tenths and hundredths of seconds, would be my prediction here. So, turning to the race on Sunday, last year's podium was Lando Norris taking the win with Max Verstappen coming home in second and Charles Leclerc coming home third. Cody, what you got here for our race podium?
At this point, it's going to take a pretty wild weekend for me to not predict a McLaren 1-2. It's just really who's going to come 1 and who's going to come 2. Like I said before, I think Lando Norris is going to have the edge this time out. So I've got Lando Norris taking the win, Oscar Piastri coming in second, and hopefully to the delight of all of the Dutch fans at the track, I am predicting that Max Verstappen will round out the podium in third.
Oh, very good. All right. I think when we were talking about the race in Hungary, I think on our last review, I kind of mentioned that I had to kind of recalibrate where I think Red Bull are good. And historically, I would agree, and I would say this should be a Red Bull track. This is Max Verstappen's home race. I do definitely think that's going to be a factor, and I do think he will factor in the result for sure. But I just don't know that it's enough to overcome the car. I think that car is great in straight lines, but this is a very tight, twisty track with not a lot of straight line other than the one straight. And even then, it's usually not enough, even when you got DRS, to necessarily pull a move off. So it's going to be very much qualifying unless rain comes. If rain comes, all holy hell can break loose. And that's maybe what a lot of people are hoping for here, but that's fine. But I'm going to assume it's going to stay dry enough so that Lando Norris will probably come home P1, in my opinion, followed by his teammate Oscar Piastri. It's just not an Oscar-looking like track. I do think he's going to step up, and I do think he's going to be right there all weekend, but he's just not shown it to me before here. And I think based on recent form, I think the Ferrari updates actually did something. I don't know how well they went, but we'll see. Does Charles Leclerc fade again like he did in Hungary? If that happens again, then we know we've got a problem with those Ferrari updates. But up till then, he showed really, really well. So let's see if that's a one-off. And that's another thing. We still have no idea. There's been no clarification from Ferrari about what that problem was other than chassis issue. That's all I've seen out there. So, yeah. So don't know. But I've got Norris, Piastri, Leclerc coming home in your podium for this weekend. All right, so for fastest lap and the fastest lap driver, the 2024 fastest lap was set by Lando Norris with a 113.817. Cody, what you got for fastest lap time, and who do you got doing it?
I got Lando Norris taking fastest lap, and I think it's going to stay dry enough, at least at some point on race day, for them to get a faster time than last year. So I do have him going faster, but only just with a 1 minute 13.713 seconds.
All right, very good. I do think Oscar's going to try to bring it, and I do think he will probably set a fast lap when he tries to do that. The question is, will he get close enough to put a move on his teammate, or will either McLaren driver get close enough to put a move on their teammate, depending on who's in first or who may be in second, assuming everything goes to plan. Who knows? Maybe this could be the odd DNF. Scary thought. But anyway, I do think this is going to be Oscar Piastri taking fastest lap. I've got it slightly slower than last year, a 1:14.058. Okay, so we'll move on to our bonus picks. You have selected, I like this good spread of the grid here, P4, P11, P20. So lots of things to predict here. Cody, who do you have for your bonus picks?
I do think that the Ferrari upgrades did show pretty well right before the summer break. I mean, we thought for a little while there that Leclerc might be on for a win. And so I think he's going to continue to perform well here. I've got him just missing out on the podium in 4th place. I have Isaac Hadjar performing pretty well in the Racing Bulls, but unfortunately just missing out on points in 11th. And then, I don't know, it just seems a little easy to predict this one for 20th. I mean, 20th is really kind of anything can go, first person that retires or what have you. If it's going to be wet, this could really be just about anybody. But assuming that a wacky retirement doesn't play into it, I think it's kind of fair to go for Franco Colapinto, just because he has been having a rough go lately, and he is in Alpine, which is a pretty crappy car. So I think that's my best guess, provided somebody doesn't spin out on lap 1 from some kookiness.
Yeah, and as we've seen before, this is a track that if you're struggling to control the car, and Franco kind of has since he's come back, that can be an issue. So, I mean, that's definitely a logical choice. I have gone for P4. I think this is where Max Verstappen comes home. I don't think he's going to quite have the gumption for the podium. I think he's going to be yelling and screaming at the car for most of the weekend. Don't know if they're going to be able to dial it in quite enough, but I do think he will drag it to P4, which will probably be a little bit better than what people are going to probably think going into this race. But for P11, I've got another Red Bull there. I've got the other one. I've got Yuki Tsunoda coming home in P11, just missing the points. And for P20, I like your pick of an Alpine, but I'm going to go the other way. And I'm going to say, not because I think anything bad of this driver or anything, but luck happens to probably just kind of fall on him sometimes. And that's probably Pierre Gasly. So not rooting for it by any stretch of the imagination, but I've got him in P20, at least in a prediction. And all right. For our prop bet, I kind of like this one. Will there be orange smoke? Now, it's been a story there that they've supposedly said that anybody who does it is going to find themselves surrounded by security and then asked to leave. So, but that having been said, I'll go first here. Someone's going to do it. They're going to get kicked out for it, but I don't think they're going to care. So yes, I will say we will probably see at one point in the broadcast some orange smoke. Cody, what's your thought here?
Yeah, it's so hard to enforce that. I mean, you can do all the security checks and, threaten to kick people out as soon as they do it, but people are going to do what they're going to do. Someone's going to end up successfully sneaking stuff in, probably more than one person, and it's going to be hard to really nail down exactly who did it unless everyone around you cries foul and all that stuff. So yeah, someone's definitely going to try it. The only way that I would think we would end up without orange smoke is if Max Verstappen didn't participate in the Grand Prix somehow. So yeah, my prediction is yes.
Well, even if he does crash out, I think if you brought it and you wanted to do it, if you're pissed off that Max is out, you're going to throw it and then leave.
Yeah.
So I have a funny feeling.
I hope it doesn't come to that.
I mean, no, I don't want to see that either. But I mean, the question is going to be, do they show it on camera? I think that's even the better one. Does it happen, or do we see it on camera? But we shall see. I'm pretty confident they're not going to be able to hide it. But they may try to, try to keep people from doing it. But anyway, I don't think we're getting through this race on Sunday without seeing some orange smoke for sure. All right. So when and where can you watch your F1 this weekend? FP1 traditional no sprint weekend this weekend. FP1 kicks off all the times are an hour earlier than your standard European time. So for the US, there's it's a Labor Day weekend, so you got a little extra holiday. So you can hopefully get up and enjoy some of these sessions if you don't normally want to do that, because you can always catch the after F1 nap, which I highly would recommend, because I partake in that usually a lot over the course of the weekend. FP1 kicks off 6:30 a.m. Eastern, so bright and early, 5:30 a.m. in this part of the world. That's going to be on ESPN2. FP2, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, also ESPN2. FP3 kicks off again 5:30 a.m. Eastern. That's an early one. Wow. Going to be really tough to get up for that one. That one will be all the way in the dark here. Wow. Also ESPN2. Quali kicks off 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock a.m. Central. Also ESPN2. And the race itself, same time, standard European time, actually, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central. That will be on main ESPN and the big channel there. All right. Well, it is great to have F1 back up and running. We've got a great second half of this season. So we are going to ride the roller coaster, and it starts at a roller coaster of a track with Zandvoort. Cody, any final thoughts as we head into the weekend?
I do. This track to me is kind of like Japan, where sometimes you get some really exciting races, especially if the weather comes into play. Sometimes you get some kind of boring ones, but no matter what, it's really exciting to watch the cars go around this track because of the elevation changes and because of the big banked turns. It is a really fun one to just watch for that sake. And I think it's a fun one to come back to right after the summer break when we've all been off, because Max Verstappen has some serious fandom that shows up for this one.
That's true.
It definitely gets you excited to see that many devoted fans showing up. And I hope, for his sake, that gives him a little extra oomph to hopefully put that car somewhere it doesn't belong this weekend.
And not that I ever would root for a delay, but if there is, this track more than any other has the best delay theater. Their crowd shots and what they do to entertain themselves if things go a little bit off schedule due to weather or anything else is absolutely top notch. The coordinated dancing that I have seen in those stands is amazing. And I've not seen its equal anywhere else. So kudos to you, Dutch fans. I'm sorry this race is not necessarily going to be on the calendar every year moving forward after this one, because to me, it's always a fun one. Yeah, I mean, sometimes we get a banger like the 23 race that was crazy, and sometimes we get ones that are kind of a bit of a DRS train, and no one's really hard to pass, and we don't really know. We have tension, but not necessarily passing. So all that can depend sometimes on the cloud and the weather and the fact that we've got that lovely 50%. When does the rain hit? When does the rain leave? And how long does it take to dry? All things that we'll try to get to the bottom of over the course of the weekend, so you will definitely not want to miss it. Hope to catch you over the course of the weekend over our social media channels, as we will try to cover at least the qualifying for sure and the race itself. So until Sunday, and then we will definitely be back on Sunday to recap everything that happened over the course of the weekend, good, bad, and indifferent. All right, so for Cody, it's been Andy. As always, folks, have a great weekend. If you're in the U.S., it's Labor Day weekend. Enjoy it as we kind of say farewell to the summer temps a little bit, but maybe not yet.
Good thing this time.
Yeah, no, it's fair. If you've been in the heat dome, I hope it breaks the heat dome for you. But anyway, take care of yourselves this weekend. And as always, may all your laps be fast.